Hi, it's Joy, and today we're watching The Rings of Power, Season 2, Episode 8, Shadow and Flame. I adore this show. I thought the last episode was brilliant and stressful and terrifying, and now we've got the fallout, and it's the finale, so this episode is going to be equally insane, I am sure, but I am ready for it. Before I start, I don't look at too much discourse because I don't want to get any spoilers for things that are likely to come, but I have seen a lot of headlines and tweets and memes about the kiss. And I talked about it a little bit, I think, in the last episode, but it didn't seem that much of a big deal to me because to me it was 100% a distraction, like misdirection. Like, look up here at our faces as we kissy kiss. You're not seeing our hands as I very obviously hand her the pin. I just very obviously took off of my shoulder 2 minutes ago. Like, it was kind of a whoa, you weren't expecting us to be doing the kissy kiss, and now you're not looking. Also, it was a chaste kiss. Like, yes, it was quite a long kiss for just like a family kiss, but like it was fairly chaste. It wasn't like really tongue involved. And I think given the stakes at that moment, these are two people who love each other. They're not in love with each other, but they love each other. They are friends. They have been through so much together, and there is a very, very real chance that she will die before she's able to escape, even with him giving her this pin. And there is a very, very real chance that he will fall in battle before they're able to reunite, even if she does escape. So that's kind of just a moment of just being like, I love you. I know we've not been on the best of terms recently, but I care about you and I love you, and just be safe. Like, as kind of what I viewed it as. Distraction combined with just affection and just like, I care about you and I love you. Not, I'm in love with you. So I didn't think it was weird at all for characters that I do not believe are at all romantically inclined. I can see how it might take people by surprise because I was not expecting him to do that, but I think it was just brilliant misdirection and also just that they love each other. So yeah, I am stressed for this episode because it's the finale. I'm also so excited. A reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my Patreon, and let's go. The dwarves did not come. Durin was a little preoccupied.
What are you gonna do?
What you hear.
What he has to.
Follow me down that mine.
And this is really heroic and heartbreaking, and like, A, he shouldn't be the one who has to go and deal with his father on his own. 2, if a group of dwarves go and all go at him, yes, he may injure some of them, but we can probably wrestle him to the ground and get that ring off without just sending one person on their own to try and face him. I think it's even worse because young Durin pushed for the elven involvement. He suggested the idea of the rings. It was him. It was his idea. And so you kind of feel like, I put my father in. My father was never like this and it's my fault. It isn't your fault. You couldn't have known. The elves didn't even know when they were offering it to you. Oh, was it too late?
I said take it off!
You've got to... You need to tackle him, and you should have just walked up to him and taken off the whole hand. And it's brutal and it's awful, but...
There was nothing stronger than my father.
Until the ring. Are we too late? You should have just walked up to him and locked his hand off. Bad news. I thought it was going to drag him all the way. He took it off. Does he finally understand when it's too late to matter?
I never let you lift your hand. Forgive me, my son.
It wasn't really your fault, it was the ring. Brave at the end. I don't know how much one man can do. If anything, we just need to reseal this entrance. Is that gonna do that? Has he chosen Nori? Not Staff?
None of us could ever hope to defeat Sauron alone.
But I was told you wished to ally yourself.
Uh-huh.
Follow me, and you shall have them. Your past, your name, even
Temptation.
your staff.
Or would you seek to become his successor?
Mm-hmm.
Walk with me.
I would sooner walk this desert forevermore, nameless and forgotten.
Then you give me little choice, old friend.
They're home! Not to mention their physical safety right now. He will save everyone he can.
I was ordered only to gather you here. I've no answers to give.
And so you just willingly gather people like lambs to the slaughter for who knows what orders, and you're cool with that? You're a real great person. What lies is this?
Traitors of Westerness. As of this hour,
If anyone's working with Sauron, it's you monsters. Or it could, oh God, it could very well be that no one in Númenor is working for Sauron, including the bad guys, but that they are using this as a political power tool, and therefore opening the door for Sauron should he decide he wants to have a piece of Númenor. His old Arianwen, I can't say that girl's name. Happy? She didn't seem it. They'll use you and then cut you dry. And oh look, the tree is weeping. But if you don't believe in that stuff, if you aren't one of the faithful, then I guess it means nothing to you. But the Valar are quite clearly saying to you, stop this. Completely unrelated, but seeing this armor reminded me. I keep seeing this post, and this was before the season actually aired, of people being like, oh, the movies had this budget and they had this super cool armor, and the show has this huge budget and it only has this really crappy armor. And they compare like a prince of a kingdom's armor versus an ordinary member of the guard, the sea guard. Yes, I think a prince will have fancier armor than a common ordinary person. That is the way the world works.
Move along.
I mean, I'm glad she's helping her father out. Like, good for her. But at the same time, she enabled this. She created the situation. Like, she helped it. Obviously, it wasn't just her, and I do believe it would have happened without her. But she was an integral part of making it happen, and she stood there all smug and proud while it was happening. And now she's like, but it could affect me and my family? Well, I better stop that. It doesn't make me love her, especially as she's just like, well, yeah.
My son Anarian amongst them. I know a ferryman who can get us outside the
You have another son?
One does not need eyes to lead in the dark.
They'll kill you.
My place is here. You know it is.
You can't help anyone if they kill you for being a ally of Sauron.
Reclaim your lordship, and with this sword, your destiny.
Is she essentially saying like she will die here for the cause, or she'll martyr herself here for the cause, and he can be the successor? He will be the king that follows? At this point, a quick death may be the best answer. Yeah. I love her for stopping to save the people and like save as many innocent people as she can. But I'm also like, Galadriel, you have the rings. You should have got out of here ages ago and been running for the hills because you're still in the city where Sauron is. But of course, she could never just sit by and watch people die when she could help them. Oh. I'm only shooting you because you made me. You didn't do what I wanted, so now I have to do this. And I feel bad about it. Are we giving up with the manipulation games?
What you have done to yourself.
Yes, to himself.
I wish only to share them with the world.
Oh yes, you're so good, aren't you?
Please.
He's still trying the manipulation tactic.
So pure it shall betray the very hand that forges it.
Your words are empty.
No.
You're hearing everyone.
The rings of power shall destroy you.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end shall prove your utter ruin!
I am their master.
He's really touched a nerve with you, Sauron.
You are the prisoner.
I love this.
Of the rings.
He said the thing. I'm sorry, Celebrimbor. Your ego frustrated me, but on the whole, you deserve a lot better. You deserve so much better. And you got under his skin, which is a huge achievement.
Are you Sauron?
I have many names.
Hmm. I'm having a moment right now. Excuse me, orcs. I've composed myself. I'm ready now. Are they gonna be like, we don't like Adar anymore. He's sacrificing us, so we'll support you now, Sauron, because that would be really stupid of them. Are these fresh Númenorians arriving?
Like it better being a low man.
I liked it too.
You are not going back to the Númenor you once knew. This has been a really lovely... Like, we haven't seen much of them. I wish we'd seen more in a way, but I've enjoyed seeing Theo and Isildur help people. Isildur help Theo, and kind of in some ways Theo help Isildur.
Come with me to Númenor.
It's not quite the wonderful place I sold it to you as, because, you know... Oh lord. This bitch is here. So Isildur is not just casually getting on this ship.
It's a disgrace the state this place is in. Is that coming?
Uh-huh. We've manipulated your sister with your death.
Your sister will be so pleased to hear we found you.
Haha. He's panicking. Panicking greatly.
I never gave up. If I'd had it my way, the old fool would be dead.
He's got you where he wants
Shall I
you.
have them slaughter the horse?
Númenor has fallen.
Disrespect me again, and you really will be lost in Middle-earth.
I really now want this ship to fucking sink.
Hear this now.
With him on it, but for Isildur to manage to swim to Númenor.
A colony of Númenor. No timber, no supplies. But I'm certain that won't be a problem for you. After all, they're only trees.
Oh, the trees. Like, are there other trees we could do it from? Or are they all the trees?
Leave us.
Has he put the ring on? Has it changed him?
Leave us. Even wounds that have endured an age can sometimes yet
He's an
heal.
elf again? Is the change permanent, or will he return to being an orc?
Help me vanquish Sauron with it. And I swear to you,
Yeah, it's going back.
I will recall my children to Mordor.
I have slain more of your children than any elf alive.
They do also enslave people, though.
Absenin.
That is huge.
No more flames. No more darkness.
No more enslaving people?
Let this ring heal the
It's too late.
It's a trap. I mean, this does kind of show you how you can't work with orcs. Like, yes, he was leading them into battle. Yes, they were being slaughtered. Yes, like, he hasn't been a very good father recently. But do they really think Sauron is going to be a better one? That Sauron will not treat them the same and worse? Like, it just shows you that orcs are not the best, not the brightest. Yeah. Maybe that age of peace is over. Galadriel, I'd be making a quick exit. I think you know who is nearby. Okay, maybe there's no time for a quick exit.
Leave no elf alive, but bring me their leaders.
Now he gets a new army. So wonderful.
This was your design from the beginning.
Yep.
Please. You think too much of me.
I feel like he sees this one coming though, but I love you for trying.
It's not my wish to harm you.
Do you wish to heal me?
I wish to heal all Middle-earth.
Yes, but Your definition of healing, it is not healing. All that knowledge.
The wisdom of all who ever dwelt in this place.
They don't care.
Beyond jewels or even take our lives. But leave it be, I beg you.
Me about my book collection. Elrond. I don't think you can single-handedly defeat every orc in the city, sweetheart. This is Sauron's legacy.
Galadriel, you of all elves must understand.
Fuck off.
To find the light, we must first touch the darkness.
Yes, you've more than touched it. Agreed.
It's just another of your illusions.
Like, there were elements of similarity between them, but that doesn't mean they're alike. This bitch. Come on, Galadriel, you know who this is. The face he bears doesn't make a difference. Sauron, you really are annoying, you know that? Here.
Are they not the seeds you planted?
No! Sauron, you planted everything. Yes, she made mistakes. But no, it's not all her fault, it's all your fault. Stop blaming people that are taken in by your abuse. It's what abusers do.
The door is still open.
The door is shut.
Agreed. Thank you. He had that comment. I'm sort of obsessed with her a little bit. She drew blood.
Never have rested until all Middle Earth had been brought to its knees.
Yes, but that's not what she wants.
To worship the light of its queen.
You monster. No one else thinks the way you do. Is this Durin finally coming? I mean, I'm glad that they still, even after everything they've been through, they still turn up to fight. This is what I hoped they would do. Is she going over the cliff? What's her trick here?
I wish to hear Middle Earth. Heal yourself.
Got to turn around. Everything's going to plan.
Well, Lord, if we pursue many orders.
Yes, why did you think working for Sauron was a good idea, you stupid orcs? He's worked against these rings.
Okay.
He's reached the point of understanding about the rings that he did not have at the beginning of the series. Doesn't mean they're all perfect and wonderful and good, but that was quite a staff-shaped branch. But the thingamajig is sealed back inside the mountain, right?
No matter how.
You did everything you could. You have to go back to your people, your family.
And
But
all
you
anybody
might not
can
find
do
out that Isildur's alive.
is try.
Thank you kindly, Gandalf.
Gandalf. They know what they're doing. Like, what does that sound like, what he just said?
Gandalf.
They've
They'll see each other again, I have to believe it. She did throw a very staff-looking stick on the ground. Helping Nori was the way to find your staff.
Gandalf. That's what they're going to call me, isn't it?
Now let the song begin.
I'm so glad that was the answer.
Let us sing together.
There were so many clues and things, and like the way they were like Grand Elf, and that kind of sounds like. And it also really kind of doesn't necessarily explain, but it gives a backstory to his fondness for hobbits and for, you know, kind of being drawn to them and knowing when the rest of Middle Earth might look down on them and might think, oh, just a hobbit. He knows their worth and their brilliance because they were the first people to show him kindness. It's just very cleverly well done. I'm glad they didn't make us wait too long for the Gandalf reveal as well.
Rumours fly that you are not your father's preferred heir, that some of the other dwarf lords are advancing claims.
Of course they are. Okay, I'm glad that they're back on track with each other. And Arondir is alive.
Attack and bring the fight to him, or to fall back to prepare our defenses.
The sword of the shield.
Yeah, there isn't necessarily a right or wrong answer.
Region's bravest fell.
It is not strength that overcomes darkness, but light.
Something that I think they did very, very well in the previous episode, and I meant to talk about at the start of this one, I completely forgot, is showing how battle traumatizes you and the stresses and it's not. I mean, I know that I'm not saying other Lord of the Rings things have glorified battle, of course not. But I think they were really able to show that as the battle went on, you could see it changing Elrond. He will forever be changed by the experience of being in that battle, of being the commander in that battle, and being the one leading people. And, you know, you could see from whether it was extras or like small part characters, Galadriel even, all these people who were involved in the battle, how as it went on, the trauma of it, the true brutality of warfare was plain to see on their faces. I just think it was done really well because it's very easy, especially in fantasy shows, to kind of have a little bit of that, but to mostly focus on the noble fighting and I will not surrender to you and I will. And I think they did a really good job of showing the reality of how brutal it would be. There's still hope. Hey, give me next season now, please. I adore this show. I will say, and this isn't any comment on the Rings of Power, Amazon Prime needs to figure out that it is a wealthy enough company to make 2 fantasy shows to come out each year, okay? There is no reason why we have to have Wheel of Time one year, then the Rings of Power, then the Wheel of Time, then the Rings of Power. They can both come out in the same calendar year. Like, one could be a summer, like one could come out in May and one could come out in September. That would be fine. It would work. Stop being stupid. Okay, now we're actually discussing the Rings of Power. I think they did a really, really good job in this episode because there are so many different plot lines in this show, and we've had a few episodes where some of them haven't been in it. And for a finale to really pay off, you do kind of need to revisit each plot line and see where the characters are and what they're doing. That can be quite a time-pressing issue to feel like, oh, I wish we'd got more time in this plotline because why did we have to go to that plotline? I think they did a very good job of juggling that. The only thing that felt a little bit odd to me was the situation with Nori and Gandalf, as I can now say officially. I don't know why I'm saying officially as though like I already knew. I obviously didn't, but you know what I mean? Like, he has a name. No more a stranger. Because she's like, don't be a stranger. And he was like, okay, I know my name now, thank you. Obviously, I guess we're supposed to think that when he had like the vision of Nori in danger, that was her being in danger, and so he immediately left and went to find her, I assume. But I don't know if it was just me, if I missed something, if I missed an end credit scene or skipped past something when I thought it was the recap, although I only ever click skip recap, I don't click like, you know what I mean. If I somehow missed something or just completely forgot, because I do have CFS with brain fog and like I am forgetful at times. I've never forgotten a plotline before though. I feel like suddenly like he was going there to meet them and suddenly she was like caught by the people and we didn't see it happen, but I'm assuming it just happened off screen because it didn't really add anything for us seeing it, but there was just a moment when brain was like, this is not what these characters were when I left them. So I really enjoyed the way I've loved how they're teasing Gandalf. Now, I've said before, I'm not the hugest Lord of the Rings person. I do not know everything backwards and forwards. I haven't seen the films hundreds of times, so I'm not an expert. I haven't read the books, but I love this world and I love these characters. And there were little phrases and things that I was like, that feels a little Gandalfy. Obviously him seemingly being a good person, very Gandalfy. And I've always felt like and hoped it was Gandalf, simply because, like I think I said during the reaction, of how it gives the backstory to his fondness for hobbits. Because obviously a good person who is knowledgeable about the world and about all the other people within the world wouldn't look down on hobbits, but they probably wouldn't be especially when they're living in the Shire and they're not traveling and they're not leaving the Shire and like they're very much a staying home species. It would make they wouldn't be the first people you'd think, I'm going on a big quest, I could do with a hobbit. But it would explain so much when that from the moment Gandalf awoke again, because from the moment he arrived in Middle Earth, his first connection was with a halfling, half-foot, that's going to be the hobbits will become the half-foots will become the hobbits. That was his first real connection, the first people that showed him kindness and trust and friendship. And I think that makes it just such a beautiful full circle moment with us seeing why he is so fond of hobbits in the future, even when they have become a species that you wouldn't necessarily think they will be great adventurers. It's really beautiful in my opinion. I love the way it all comes together. And like when the guy was like, "Thank you, Grand Elf," and I was like, "What did you just say?" It was really cleverly done because it did sound similar to Gandalf and they knew what they were doing. And so when he got his staff, it came to him. He had his moment of like, choose the easy path, go with the guy who's saying, "I'm a really good friendly person and I want to stop evil Sauron. Come and work with me and I'll give you your staff and I'll give you your name." Now, he might not have been telling a lie. He might have just been like, "You can be my evil sidekick." But he definitely was not completely telling the truth either. And so I really respect the way they wrote that scene where Gandalf knew his friendship was more important. Doing the right thing and being there for your friends is more important than choosing the easy way for power. So I really enjoyed that. And I love that Tom Bombadil's thing was a test. And of course he passed it. It was very, very well done. And so now I'm assuming this group these weren't half-foots. I can't remember what they called themselves. I'm really sorry. They, I guess, because they've lost their home, I'm assuming Poppy is going to be taking them to the half-foots so the groups can join together and perhaps fulfill their prophecy. I don't know if this is in Poppy's mind right now, but fulfill the prophecy thingy-majig about going and finding the golden beautiful land with the rolling hills that they could maybe build some lovely homes in and be safe and happy. Yeah, that could be a thing that they're doing. But a huge thing is obviously Nori choosing to leave him now. Like, she has taken him as far as she could. Her part in this story is no longer with him. And it's really sad when characters that you love their dynamic together, and just everyone, people who are friends, who are family, who love each other, need to split off and go into different things. It is sad because they will not be together anime, but I think they handled it with just both characters were like, this is the way it needs to be. You know, Nori needs to walk her own path. For a while it was this path, and the path of helping him led her to these other half-foots, which has now led them to the concept of they set off traveling for a reason. It wasn't just endlessly migrating. They were trying to find somewhere. Like, I think her helping Gandalf will help the half-foots in the long run, and it's just really clever storytelling. And obviously Gandalf is going to be around for a very long time, so he will visit. He better visit. What I do wonder about is if we are going to continue to see Nori and Poppy and the half-foots in future seasons. I want to, so I'm not saying I don't want to, but if their story is them migrating, attempting to find their home, etc., I don't really know what that has to do with the Rings of Power and everything else when they were attached to the Gandalf plotline that obviously is linked, whereas now it isn't so much. So I am fine if they just go, we've been following these characters, we're going to keep following them, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see them again, and then maybe at some point at the end when it's all over, Gandalf is like, I'm going to go and visit a friend, and then just pops off, and then he arrives at the Shire and she's like, we found it, or something. Like, I wouldn't be hugely surprised if that was the way that they write this to happen, because I don't know that the half-foots are going to be linked unless their migrating patterns takes them into Sauron's path and takes them and they get involved in all the shenanigans. Maybe the evil wizard, actually. Evil Wizard Man could involve them because he knows Gandalf cares about them. So Evil Wizard Man could be like, I've got your friends, Gandalf. And you go, fuck it, I'm going to deal with Sauron, but I guess I'll come back. Like, I suppose they could be involved in that sense, but we will see. The Gandalf has a name now. Is he just gonna rock up and be like, hello, I am Gandalf. I am here to help you against Sauron. And they're all going to be like, what are you? Who are you? I'm really excited for the kind of Gandalf's plotline has been such a separate plotline that I'm really excited to see it merge with the others and become one big plotline together. Obviously with smaller different branching routes. Then we have the dwarves. Now I don't blame Durin, and I think he did come, he did his best, he came, well he didn't personally come, but he sent allies and he wasn't able to stop the city falling. If he'd turned up when he was supposed to, he might have been able to stop the city falling altogether, but he turned up in time to help them survive, and he needed to stop his father. Now there is a part of me that is like, Durin, you went alone to deal with your dad, and then you didn't bother going with the army. You could have just sent the army in the first place and just not gone with it. But obviously he didn't know what the situation was going to be. And I think it's going to be, I hope we get to see at least one scene in the next series. I don't know where the characters are going to go, what they're going to do with Elrond and Durin talking. Is Elrond upset? Does Elrond understand? Is Durin like, I really wish I could have helped you out? I mean, obviously Durin's going through a whole lot right now. I don't know that he's going to have that much time to deal with the elves, but I like that his instinct was still to give them aid. Now, Durin Senior, obviously frustrating. He's been annoying throughout. Because as much as, like, yes, giving the elves mithril wasn't necessarily the best thing ever because now Sauron's making rings, but it did help the elves, it did help them save their tree and stay on Middle-earth. If Sauron wasn't around, there would be literally no need to be concerned about giving the elves mithril, really. But the majority of the Durin Senior's bad actions were the ring, so I don't really blame him. As frustrating as it is to think that, like, it was only literally when he saw the evil creature that he was like, oh, maybe my son was right, and by the way, I never actually, you almost beat me in those arm wrestles when you were 10, okay, thanks kid. Like, it was very, I enjoyed it, I enjoyed how it was done. It broke my heart for Durin, to see his father, and in some ways it's both better and worse. Like, obviously it's better that at the end he knows his father was his father again, he was in his right mind, he was making his decisions, but they all now know this creature is there, and it's a fairly thin layer of rock between the creature and them. Now, I'm guessing no one's going to go dig in there unless Sauron himself comes in. But it definitely, that creature's going to want to get out, and it now knows how close it is to getting out. So I do feel like that is the last we've seen of it, and it's the threat it poses. But then we have within the dwarves, like, political intrigue coming into play, the succession crisis, because this was not a stable succession. The king died in, I'm going to say in battle, but in combat. I mean, the only people present were Durin, his wife, and his right-hand man. Like, that could be, you could say, oh, you weren't the king wasn't doing what you wanted him to do, so you killed him, and then you were like, oh, there was a fire creature in the mountain. Sure, Durin, sure there was. You just didn't want the throne. You know, like, you could definitely, if you wanted to, try and manipulate the situation. You could even claim that he had murdered his father for the throne. As it is, his father very recently stripped the title of heir from him. They were very clearly, very openly disagreeing all of the time. This definitely is ripe for a succession crisis, which maybe dwarves aren't as loyal and together as I hoped they would be. All I really know of the name Durin is the references in The Hobbit, and like I said before, I have watched the Hobbit films one time. I'm not a huge expert. So I'm assuming ultimately Durin will stay the king. He may not be the king of this mountain, but he will be a king because he has to have descendants to lose their mountain and then all die trying to get it back. Okay, I didn't like the end of that film. Spoilers? Sorry. But like, he has to ultimately become king, which I hope. But this sort of, in the same way that Númenor's succession crisis, you could call it, people taking advantage of the succession, is opening the doors to Sauron. If Sauron, at this point, I mean, Númenor we've established is like not, it's detached from Middle-earth, so I don't know how like pressed Sauron is about it in this moment, but it is opening the door for his influence, for him to whisper to people, or just for him to walk in and take advantage of the disarray around him. It is far easier to take over and cause chaos when everyone around you is destroying themselves than it is if they are all presenting a united front. So I feel like the dwarves could be in for a similar situation in which the evil creature will emerge and escape, and they will lose their mountain forever. Durin's brother, I don't think we've seen him yet. What are you up to? Because, yes, his father did recently strip Durin of the necklace of airship or whatever, but he gave it back again. So it's not the most ringing endorsement, but he did give it back to him. So I'm worried for Durin and Disa and everyone. It's also because we know they lose this mountain. We know that this Khazak Dune is not theirs. It is not where they are in the future. It is an empty, decrepit, not really decrepit, but an empty, abandoned home. And they have since moved on to try and find a different place, which they will then lose. But that's not the point. Like, it's not theirs anymore. So we know that this story doesn't end well. But I have no idea if it doesn't end well in 500 years or if it doesn't end well right now. I'm assuming it is going to be in this series of events. So as much as I think Durin will want to be directly involved in helping Middle-earth, stopping Sauron, etc., he's definitely going to have his hands held behind his back because of the succession crisis that is going to be going on. Then, neatly jumping across to Númenor and their succession crisis. Oh my god, her name, Ariawen. Arian. I literally, I read it again and I was like, I'm going to remember it this time. I think it's probably partly, I mean, it isn't, it's literally, it is just my brain fog and her name is just like not a name I'm familiar with. But I think it's also partly because she's so annoying that I don't want to know her name. You could definitely see, it was very realistic the way that she got caught up in the kind of political ideas of it all and wanting to do the right thing and thinking she was right and no one understands me, my dad doesn't understand me, my brother's dead because of him, you know, all of that sort of thing, and getting swept up in the manipulation and the kind of, oh yes, you're so brilliant and wonderful, thank you for helping us, that they were doing with her, and also falling for Kemen, which, why? There is nothing attractive about that man. Like, not the actor, the character, like how he embodies the character. He's a very skilled actor, and I'm sure a very attractive man when he's not playing Kemen. But like, Kemen, even when he's being nice to you. So, she was kind of swept up in it all. And then when she's like, wait, no, my dad's gonna be hurt because of it. Oops. Like, how dare you? How dare you inflict this on everybody else, put everybody else in, all these other people who have done nothing wrong, who are as innocent as your father, technically more innocent than your father because they aren't like kissing Miriel and like her right hand man. If you truly believe Miriel is evil, then your father is probably also going to be in line with her. For her to go and save him while watching everybody else get rounded up, it's very realistic to how people would act in that situation. But she's going to be an interesting one to watch in future seasons because, assuming she survives, is she going to start looking around thinking, well, no, this isn't what I wanted. I wanted change. I didn't want us to be governed by the whims of a tree or whatever her reason for doing what she was doing is. But I didn't want people to be persecuted. I didn't want people to be forced to not live their lives a certain way. Is she going to see sense and try and change things? And then, of course, on top of that, she's got the little bonus of her brother coming back, and he will be like, what the fuck did you do in my name? Excuse me? But he will turn up again, and he will have his own opinions, and they will not be hers, I imagine. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see where she goes. But I'm also concerned, in a sense, I don't really care about her, but more concerned because people I do care about would be sad if something happened to her, is that old evil king man, he clocked that she was rushing off to save her dad. He is fully aware that she has this weakness, and he is definitely the kind of person who will use you until he no longer needs you or until you pose even a glimmer of a threat, and then he will take you out. How easy would it be to say she's secretly been working with her father this whole time and deal with, like, she's in a very precarious position right now. As much as she's a character that frustrates me, she is a fascinating character, and I do hope we see where she goes. I mean, of course we will in the future season. Now, I'm very worried for Miriel because as long as she is alive, she is she's the biggest threat of all to his reign. Now, he's brought up this lie that she is working with Sauron. Now, I don't entirely know what he showed the guy, and if I'm supposed to know what was in the paper that he showed, please tell me. I don't know whether it was just like an order of execution or something, or just Miriel works with Sauron. Dear diary, today I worked with Sauron, signed Miriel. I don't know. Now, you could argue Miriel did work with Sauron. Halbrand was on the ship with her when they set sail, but she very much is not working with Sauron. And we haven't got confirmation that the evil king is working with Sauron. We also don't know what he saw when he looked in the thingamajig. But I wouldn't be surprised if he was working with Sauron to get power, and I also wouldn't be surprised if he's not consciously working with Sauron, but somehow there's some evil mystical force whispering in his ear. But I do think he is making the situation right for either Númenor to be taken over by Sauron, or for Númenor to just not be offering much aid to other people when they could be really helping stop Sauron. They're going to be dealing with their own shit instead. But I do worry for Miriel, because like I was saying, she is, while she's alive, there is a claimant. There is a threat to his throne, and someone that a chunk of his population, even if he's rounded those people up, believes is the rightful heir. She passed their sea test as much as he's trying to say Sauron helped her. It's not good to have her around, and so I do worry that he is going, that what we saw there in that scene was him sentencing her to death, because he strikes me as the kind of guy who would not want his competition around. And he's announced that she's a treasonous, traitorous woman who's working with Sauron. He's got his reason to kill her. And I do think when she chose to stay behind, she was almost accepting that fate and passing the mantle on to Elendil to say, you are now the future of this movement. You are the future hope of our people. I give you this sword. I give you the lordship. Like, I give it to you to take over from me. And I'm going to be this sacrifice, this martyr to the cause that I guess in some ways will show people how wrong what is being done is, because she will go gracefully and willingly to her death. I don't want her to. I'd like her to, like, escape, but that's what it felt like to me. So it's very concerning. Now he's off to the west to try and find some people to I don't know. Obviously, Isildur is going to land in the capital. He's not going to be able to go pop over to the west. They're not going to be too happy to see him. I could almost see Kemen, like, locking him up and not telling anyone he has him sort of situation, depending on how much they need Iarian's assistance. I don't know. But he's currently in a precarious position. I have to imagine he will ultimately find his father and help him, but we will see. Also, he had a son. He has another child. I thought he had 2 children. He apparently has 3. Maybe he has more than 3. But there's maybe potentially a brother somewhere. Interesting character to meet. So this was all kind of just such rich plot lines, and so frustrating to watch these stupid power hungry idiots doing all the damage that they are doing when you know the real threat that is out there. Then we have obviously the fallout of the Battle of Eregion. I'm glad the dwarves ultimately showed up and they were able to help. Obviously, like, Galadriel and Elrond are alive in the future, so I have this, like, small bubble of peace that they may suffer. They may be tortured and hurt as they have been, but they'll live through it, and I cannot lose them. So that is nice. Not nice that they suffer, but nice that I know that they'll be alive at the end of it. Pretty much everybody else, Gandalf like comes, so maybe he could come down again in the future if I don't know. I have my little bubble, they'll be okay, but they're still severely traumatized by everything that's been going on. But I loved everything about this, like, I think it was huge to have Elrond be the one to say, I can help save her with this ring, to admit he was wrong in the beginning, that there is good to these rings. They are still dangerous. They still pose a threat if in the wrong hands. There are still a lot of bad things with the rings, but I think he finally understood what they meant and why Galadriel viewed them as so important. And I think that was a very, very significant moment for him to do it. And I don't think it was purely, I think it was done partly because he cares about Galadriel and he didn't want to watch her die and when he could do something. But I do also think he was admitting that there is something about these rings that is worth saving and worth using, and understanding Galadriel in that sense, but also seeing that she didn't give in to Sauron this time and that she was willing to die to try and stop him. Sauron is very much, I mean, he's terrifying. He is your classic abuser, narcissistic, I guess. I mean, I'm not saying he's a narcissist because I have not diagnosed him or anything, but he has a lot of these elements, these toxic elements that people have, and he does appear to be the kind of villain that thinks he's doing the right thing when he is not, and thinks that he needs to heal the world when by heal the world he means torture the world. It's just so... He is just, especially his scenes with Celebrimbor throughout this show, but even some of how he talks to Galadriel, how he talks to anybody that he has victimized in some way, is this way of making it their fault, making there be some failing in them that has led to him acting in the way he is doing. Or that, oh no, you are drawn to me, we are the same, when just because they maybe had a few similarities and you seized on those similarities and those vulnerabilities and like, yes, look, I have all these weaknesses, the same ones as you. Like, it doesn't mean these people are willingly doing what you want or on your side or wrong in any way. And it's really uncomfortable to watch. I think it's so well done because this is the kind of character he is. He is the master deceiver. I've loved everything Celebrimbor said to him in the previous episode and this one about how like ultimately the deceit will fall back on him and he will feel the brunt of it. Like all of this manipulation, all this, everything he's doing is ultimately creating a prison for himself and that he will be the one to suffer because it's beautiful. But yeah, he is terrifying. He is abusive. He is truly just a masterful villain who thinks he's got this plan to save everybody, but no one would actually be saved in said plan. He is terrifying to watch. And like I've seen so many memes of people being like, not even memes, people saying how attractive he is and how much, and I'm like, please tell me that like they just mean like his face because he does have a very nice face and not him as a, I don't know, you can call him a human, but as an individual going around doing his shit, because that should be a red flag that terrifies you. And if it doesn't, please look to your personal lives. And if you're friends with someone who's in love with Sauron, please check on them and make sure that their significant other is not Sauron. But in a roundabout, we're very rambly. I love the moment when Galadriel said, all of this has been, I don't know the exact words, all of this has been to your design, all of this is how you planned it. And he was like, you give me too much credit, because all of this was to his design. Now, obviously, I don't think every single thing fell into place the way he planned it, but he planted the seed with Adar when he was Halbrand to go and get Sauron out of Eregion. He knew that that would go against Adar's, I want to protect my children, I'm just giving you a home, and make the orcs ripe for mutiny and insurrection. He knew that if he worked with Celebrimbor, this would happen. Like, everything happened not 100% the way he wanted it to, because I don't think even Sauron could control things 100%, but he delayed the dwarves because he gave them the rings, and so, I mean, he wanted to give them the rings regardless, but he knew the dwarves had the rings and they had the creature in the mountain and that would distract them. Like, he even if he doesn't necessarily plan everything that happens or control everything that happens, he can see everything that could happen and he's able to pull at certain strings to try and get the outcome he wants, and most of the time he seems to be getting it. Obviously, his biggest situation is that he's not able to 100% rely on people and their character, and they can surprise him and they can act in a way that he doesn't think. And he has blind spots, I think, to an extent. They do seem to be saying that he genuinely felt a connection with Galadriel last season, which, run, woman, run. But it doesn't even matter if she felt it back, which she obviously did last season, because when you can start to fall for somebody, then find out they're actually a serial killer and be like, those feelings, I remember them, and maybe occasionally I'll catch a glimpse of him and think, oh wait, no. And then my subconscious will be like, oh, I like him, and then my brain will be like, what the fuck, no. Like, she doesn't feel that way for you anymore, sir. And it just was fascinating to me the way he was kind of still harping on about like, I would have made you queen and I would have had them all bowing down to your glory. And I'm like, mate, have you not figured out yet that she doesn't want that? Quite clearly, she did not think that was a good thing. You know, if you were saying to her, I would have made you my queen and you would have helped temper my darker impulses and we would have ruled over a peaceful world with you making me a better man, it's still a load of nonsense, but that at least would be a bit more appealing, or like, I don't know, not evil. So I think, but some of the way he spoke to her, he does seem to have a bit of a weakness when it comes to her. Now, only a bit of a weakness because he was able to stab her and attack her, and I think he likely would have killed her. But it's just, I think he does have that kind of glimmer of weakness in him. The other glimmer of weakness we saw was Celebrimbor's words hitting home about how ultimately his lies will come back on him, his deceit will come back on himself. And I do think he gets genuinely frustrated when these people he's manipulating don't understand the glory of his vision, the wonder that he knows. It's quite amusing to watch in a very terrifying way. So, brilliant acting, brilliant everything. I'm a little bit obsessed with Galadriel. Like, yeah. If I was gay, I'd be in love with her, but I'm unfortunately straight, and I still just love her. Off topic, but I love her spirit. I love how much she tries to do the right thing, that she's beyond brave and courageous and good and just tries to do the right thing all the time. It doesn't necessarily always do the right thing. She can get caught up in her emotions and in vengeance, but I just think she's really human. Obviously she's an elf, but she feels 3D. She doesn't feel like a pure paragon of wonder and goodness. She is a fully fleshed out character with flaws, but you feel her heart. I think that's what I'm trying to say. And like it's a lot of it's morphed. I'm so sorry. I've like hesitated to say her name because I know I'm gonna butcher it. It's partly the acting, like phenomenal. It's just something so captivating about her performance that just draws me in every time. I loved the fact that her instinct was to try and help people get to safety, and that she was still willing to work with Adar even after he'd done his little treachery, because at the end of the day, they're gonna need all the help they can get to stop Sauron. And at this point, Mordor exists. Like, the Southlands is gone. I don't know what they can do to reverse that. And so the plan, if Adar was to keep to his word and stop enslaving people and putting his mark on them and like murdering humans and whoever else comes across, that wouldn't be the worst plan in the world given what's happened. But obviously, Sauron had other plans. It was fascinating to see Adar in his elf form and to have him kind of the wonder of the ring. I think it did make him see the bigger picture a little bit more than he had been before, but obviously it was too late because his orcs turned on him. So that was another fascinating scene. I feel like I haven't talked enough about the battle aftermath, but I mean, Celebrimbor, he went out like a hero. He did frustrate me a little bit because I feel like I mean, someone did point out after my previous reaction, quite rightfully, that Galadriel wasn't purely motivated by the right thing in the previous season. It was vengeance. It was she kind of lost herself to vengeance. But it was like vengeance against somebody that, if left unchecked, would cause unknown suffering, which he is currently doing. So, like, I don't necessarily think it was that. It was still the right thing to do to try and make sure Sauron was gone, even though, yes, she wasn't purely doing it for the right reasons. And also, like, she was acting out of grief rather than acting out of ego. So I still do think her succumbing temporarily to Sauron is more forgivable than Celebrimbor's succumb, because it was largely ego that he appealed to. But I don't hate Celebrimbor. Like, I mean, he was still a victim of Sauron at the end of the day. I don't hate anybody who has been victimized by Sauron, but I just feel like in terms of my like rooting for them, the kind of different levels. But him ultimately not giving away the answer. I mean, I would have been like, oh, it's under the stairs. Oh, nope, the rings are on my bed. Oh, nope, sorry, the rings are in my chamber pot. Oh, no, the rings. Oh, I think I left them in the tower over there. You know, just fuck with him. I mean, Sauron wouldn't believe you. He was incredibly brave, and I love that he was able to stand up to Sauron. It shows you that when he is in full possession of his mind, he is a force to be reckoned with, even if all of his works have now been destroyed by the orcs. It's what happens when people sack cities, unfortunately, with no regard for culture. I did kind of think it was fun. Not funny, but like, I just want to start off Elrond. When he was appealing to the orc to just kill them, but save the work. Like, the orc doesn't care about books and scrolls. The orc, what, Elrond, you're barking up the wrong tree, sweetie. It was all just so well done and so well acted from everybody, from the main cast, the side cast. Like, there was the extras. Like, there was one extra who, when at the end, from the elves were all like, yeah, she had this like look on her face, tears in her eyes, absolute like, I believe. And I was like, oh my god, like, she needs to be a main character next season. I love her. So I'm all over the place with this, like, oh my goodness. So I just knocked my bottle off, but it landed upright. We're fine. I'm all over the place with this final thing because I just have so many thoughts and I don't know how. I think I've done a mess of my final ramblings. Sauron sort of got some of what he wanted. He has the rings for man. He can give them. Now we still need the One Ring, which I think Sauron does want to make, but he didn't seem in a hurry to make it. Has he already made it? I don't really know. I'll find out, I'm sure. He obviously doesn't have the Elven rings, and he wanted Galadriel's ring, but he still has. I feel like he won more than he lost, though it was nice to see that he didn't win everything he wanted. He has his army, he's causing problems, he's rampaging. At the moment, I do feel like a significant chunk of what he's going to be doing with that army is distracting people, is causing diversions, is making it so that these people can't come and help these people because they're dealing with the problem over here. You know, he's going to be causing chaos, because in that chaos, he can do whatever he wants. And I like the question at the end of fighting or of like sword or shield, because yes, if you can go to him, you can probably save other people. The best thing to do in the ideal world is to gather up your forces, ride out, stop Sauron, But if that fails, you have now left your people and your home completely open. But then if you stay home and you just guard yourselves, you're saying, okay, if everybody else suffers, I don't care, I'm just protecting me and mine. So there is kind of right and wrong in both elements. And to be honest, I think they need to do a bit of both, but I don't know if that would work. So I have no idea what they're going to do. I did love the brief moments we had between Galadriel and Elrond, the kind of realization of how much their bond still matters, how much their friendship still matters to each other, how much they matter to each other, even when they spent the beginning of the season frustrating me with arguing. And just the final scene with all the elves together was really lovely. I feel like I haven't talked about the elves and Sauron properly. My thoughts are so scrambled, but right now my brain is literally scrambled with just, I loved this episode, I've loved this season. I think it was even better than the first season, and I did enjoy the first season, so I'm just so excited to see where it goes next. I think I've heard something like they want 5 seasons. I'll give them 10. If they, keep giving me my fantasy content, I'll keep watching it. I've loved this season. A reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my Patreon, and thank you so much for watching.